Shalom. 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 First off, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Yahweh is the true name of Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. And Yahweh Shai is the true name of the Heavenly Father's Son, the Son of Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to my apostles and to my elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And peace and blessings goes to the hopeful members of the elect, my brothers that are out in the highways, pushing his word and his truth in sincerity. In today's lesson, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash, which Racha Kodash is Hebrew for the Holy Spirit. In today's lesson, as you see on the title, I want to go into beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. And this is found in the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter and the 8th verse. And what inspired this lesson is, just going around the news, seeing what's going on, which there's a lot going on. We're seeing prophecy unveiled right in front of us. All right, we're seeing this, the stage of war, World War III unfolding right in front of us. We're seeing the stage of Esau rolling out this MOTB, the mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, right in front of us. All right, but as you see on the screen, this is from a site called Real News No Bullshit, or Real News No BS. And this goes into the recent nuclear deal of making nuclear deal between Russia and America. When you read a little bit into it, it goes Russian President Vladimir Putin has said it will be no big deal to Russia if the U.S. fails to extend the new start of nuclear arms treaty, which simultaneously announcing that Russia will soon unveil new nuclear weapons. All right, so the Lord is putting His spirit on Russia, all right, and other nations as well, like China, North Korea, okay, to stock up their nuclear weapons. For what? For this nuclear war. Because yes, World War III will start conventional. The Lord is gonna gather. So let's get that. In the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 1, it says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." Right. So the Lord right now, He's bringing again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. All right, calling His, waking up His elect, gathering His elect through this word. All right. And it says, verse 2 again, "I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat." All right, the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is in the Middle East, the Levant, in which this main war, this World War III, is going to take place. Okay, and we even when you look at like Esau's plan, the Illuminati, what they call it, as part of Esau, they want to bring out, in their part of their agenda, they want to bring out 3 world wars. All right, they want to bring out 3 world wars, which is ready, or which is already according to prophecy, because the Lord is using these devils to do that, man. All right, because World War I, like the Bible, like the scripture says. See if we can bring it out real quick. That's in Revelation. There's another one, Revelation 9. It says one war was past, two more wars here come quickly, which represent the world wars. But here in Revelation 11:14, it says the second war was past, right? World War II. All right. And behold, the third war cometh quickly. All right. The third world war, which is going to take place in the Middle East. All right. And like I was saying, Esau, they have plans to bring out three world war, which is really the Lord. All right. Is really the Lord, because this is prophecy that there will be world wars, three world wars. But we're coming. We're World War III is coming quickly, man. We're in a stage of all that being set. The reason why it's not in full effect is because the mark of the beast, they'll all fight each other. That has to come to pass first. Okay, that prophecy has to come to pass before before World War III. But best believe, once that prophecy of the mark of the beast comes to pass, World War III is like right behind it, man. We're not gonna have to wait years for World War III. Nah, the stage of World War for the Third World War is already here. We're seeing it. All right, we're seeing a stage being set up right in front of our eyes. Okay, we just got to be watching. All right, you ask people of the world, everything World War III is ever gonna happen. They'll say yeah. Some may say no. Some might you say yeah, but in another lifetime, they're lost, because if you don't know, if you're not paying attention to what's going on in the news, you can see that we're at the stage of it. All right, but the the elites, they want to bring out the Stoa war using the Zionists versus basically Ishmael, Amalek versus Ishmael, which we're seeing that in a way. Okay, we're seeing that in a way between what Israel's doing to them Ishmaelites over there. All right, and how you want Israel want to invade and dismantle Iran, which are Elamites, which are Elam. Okay, but going back to Joel, the third chapter and second verse, again says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. The Hebrew word for Jehoshaphat is Yahweh Shaphat, Yahweh's judgment. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. And this is why Yahweh Shai said, don't be afraid or don't be troubled. All right, let's get that real quick. All right, this is Luke chapter 21, verse 9. It says, when you shall hear of wars and commotions, which we're constantly seeing. You got wars happening in the Middle East. You got wars happening in different parts of Africa. You got wars happening in Russia, Ukraine, all right, and commotions, right? It also says in Matthew 24 of wars and rumors of wars, right? And another rumor is what? China invading Taiwan. China versus Russia. All right, I mean, not Slovakia. China versus America. Slovakia, that was slip of the tongue. Not China versus Russia, the allies, but China versus America. All rumors. You have literal wars happening. Even right now, there's a rumor of America invading Venezuela under the disguise of taking out Maduro because he supports the drug cartels, which we all know that's BS. Okay, but it says again, but when you shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Right. So when we hear of wars, don't be terrified, man. When World War III comes to pass, don't be terrified, but rejoice, because this is for our sakes. This is for Israel's sakes. The Lord is getting ready to judge these nations for what they've done to us, and how they put us in, how they scattered us through the four corners of the earth and put us in chains. So this is the beginning of their judgment. Okay? Like the last part, it says, and I know I read like multiple times, but it says, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. See, for Israel's sake, whom they have scattered among the nations, a part of my land. So don't be afraid, don't be terrified. Because even though this war is in so conventional, even though a lot of our people here in America and get drafted into this war and die out there in the Middle East, if they don't die out there by them soldiers, they're definitely going to die out there by the Lord and Yahweh when he returns. Because Yahweh is going to return in the midst of all the chaos, man. There's going to be a lot of chaos. There's going to be a lot of wars already erupting on earth. All right? And then our Lord Yahweh is going to add on to that, because he's coming for war. He's coming to set fire on Esau and these other nations. Okay? But eventually, after this war, this convention is going to turn nuclear. The Lord's going to put the spirit in Russia, what she's doing right now. He's putting the hooks back into their jaws, like it says in Ezekiel 38. All right, he's raising up Russia and these other nations. Okay, I was watching like a little documentary news site going into on how right now Esau, America's generals are kind of worried about China. You shouldn't worry about China. You had the general breaking down like, if we go to China, we will not win. We will lose so bad we would be forced to use nuclear weapons. No, you don't have to worry about China, which at the same time you do, but they're not going to be the one that's going to start this nuclear war. It's going to be Russia. And China and these other nations are going to join with them. Let's get that in 51 and 28. Slakia. All right, Jeremiah 51 and 28 says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. This represents the Russians. Okay? The captains thereof. Right, they're going to be the captain. They're going to be the chief. So the Lord is preparing against her, the her is America, the nations with the kings of the Medes. Right, because you're going to have Russia ain't going to be by himself when they come against this place. You're going to have China. You're going to have North Korea. You're going to have Iran. Okay? Another list of nations that are allied with Russia. Okay, here, let me show you this video real quick. There's another news clip. North Korea just recently held a military parade, right? North Korea hold military parade, shows off new shit, attended by top Russian, Chinese, and Vietnamese leaders. So the Lord is raising up these nations. These nations are not afraid of America no more. These nations see America falling. Is that what they don't realize is that they're gonna fall as well. You got China thinking that they're gonna be the next world leader, which we all know that ain't be true, because the people who are despised, the people who are in captivity, are gonna be the next world leaders for eternity. Okay, let's read a little bit of this. It says North Korea held a large-scale military parade attended by top Russian and Chinese officials, which including showing off its latest nuclear weapon arsenal. Right. Why is the Lord putting the spirit on these other nations to build up the nuclear arsenal? Because You gotta get ready for nuclear war. Okay, because nuclear war is coming. Don't get me wrong, they're preparing for conventional war too. Why do you think North Korea sent troops over there to Ukraine? Because Kim Jong Un wanted his troops to be battle tested because they never been to war like that. America's is a battle tested country. I be seeing some like comments on the when the Chinese had the military parade, even some of this. Let me see if we read the comments. Yeah, see, I be seeing people like this. Love the confidence. Yeah, yeah, these are all Americans, proud and boasting, right? Yeah, I wonder which historical Midoros actions those generals were involved to earn all the chess candy, because you know North Korea never really been to war like that, you know, and America, they're like, oh man, we ain't scared. They're not even battle tested. We don't have to worry about it because the state. It doesn't matter if those soldiers are never, or those troops never been to battle, because it's not up to, you. All right, it's up to the Most High. All right, and the Lord is raising up these nations against America. Okay, let me get this one in. And I was reading Jeremiah. We'll get back to that, but let's get this in Joel 2:20. Okay, because it doesn't matter. Let me see. I remember reading another one. All this, but never being battle tested. Basically, never been to war. I guess that's it for all the comments, huh? Well, anyway, let me get this in Joel 2:20. It says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, which is America, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate." That land barren and desolate is Saudi Arabia, the Middle East. All right, when you look up America's biggest military army base is in Saudi Arabia. Okay, because when World War III happens, all no matter where you station, whatever troop is stationed, they're all gonna be brought to the Middle East. Even the National Guard, all right, the Coast Guard, all souls are gonna be brought to the Middle East onto this land barren and desolate. All right, and and it, with his face toward the east sea, which is the Euphrates River. That's why you see the Euphrates River drying up to make the ways for the kings of the east, right? And the inner part toward the utmost sea, which is the Red Sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things, right? So that tells you what, that you're gonna have a lot of troops out there that are gonna die. A lot of soldiers out there are gonna die. It's gonna be a bloodiest battle, man. Bloodiest war. Okay? A lot of soldiers are gonna lose their life. A lot of you jakes out there, when you get drafted, or you're gonna have that, you're gonna hug your wife, I'll be back, baby. Nah, you ain't gonna be back, man. Not even in a body bag. Alright? So you ain't gonna be back, man. You're never gonna see a woman again. Okay? Because your ass is gonna be in the spiritual room. However you go out, you get hit by a bullet, you get jets drop bombs on you, or you get turned into, or you turn disintegrated by the chariots. Turn into dust and smell of smoke. All right. So there's the battle. Just because the North Koreans and the Chinese are really not battle tested, that don't mean nothing. All right, because the Lord is going to use these nations to come up against this place. So back in Jeremiah 51:28, it says, "Prepare against the nations with the kings of the Medes." Right, you're gonna have nations that are allied with Russia. Right, the captains thereof. Right, Russia's gonna be the captains. They're gonna be the ones that are gonna start shooting off the missiles. Like when we go into Revelation 13, they're the feet of the bear. The feet represents the end of something. So the feet, Russia is gonna be the end. Is gonna be the nation whom the Lord is gonna end, used to end, destroy America. But like I said, it ain't gonna be only Russia. It's gonna be all nations that have the missiles, even your allies, even America's allies. Okay, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion, and the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitant. And how's that possible? With nuclear missiles. And that's the purpose. That's the plan that the Lord has for this place. All right, you have Trump talking about making America great again. That's not in the Lord's plan. The Lord's plan is to destroy America, and He's gonna fulfill His plan. Every purpose, all what the Lord has planned for America is gonna go through. All right. Verse 30 says, "The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might have failed. They have become as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken." Right, when the troops that are still alive found out that America got destroyed, all right, they're not gonna want to fight no more. The whole spirit's gonna just leave them when they found out America's destroyed. And not only that, when they see how we're shining chariots, they're not gonna want to fight. Flocky, they're not gonna want to fight against the Lord and His angels. They're not gonna want to fight anymore at all. When they find out America has been wiped out, got hit with missiles. Los Angeles got hit with 500. You know, we know that scripture says 200 million warheads, which is also, hey, we got to get go back into this article because it mentions how much. But anyway, Slakia, but they're not these troops are not gonna want to fight. Okay, when they find out their family got burnt up, man, what's the point of fighting? In their mind, these soldiers are, in their mind, they're thinking they're fighting for their country, fighting so their family can have freedom and the liberty that they have, that they can live peacefully. But even while they're fighting, even while they're fighting, okay, Salakia, give me a second. Even while these soldiers are fighting, there's gonna be war taking place over here. Ain't gonna be peace. There's not gonna be peace when there's war. When there's war out fought in the Middle East, there ain't gonna be peace here. There's gonna be war over here, and that's the times we're coming into. Okay, let me see. That was it on that. Let's go into this. Let's go a little more into this article. All right. So it says some shit you should know before you dig in. The New START Treaty, originally signed in 2010, limits each country to no more than 1,500 deployed nuclear warheads, 700 deployed ICBMs, submarine launched ballistic missiles, SLBMS, excuse me, and heavy bombers equipped for nuclear weapons. Putin has offered to extend it by 1 year. The Nuclear Arms Treaty, while speaking to reporters at a summit in Tajikistan, President Putin addressed the upcoming expiration of the New START nuclear arms treaty, stating that it would be no big deal for Russia if the U.S. choose not to extend it. Will these few months be enough to make a decision on an extension? I think it will be enough if there is goodwill to extend these agreements. And it don't matter if they extend it or not, man. These nations are still going to build nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads. All right, just because, hey, I remember long ago, all right, Russia, no, America unveiled a new warhead missile, which basically broke this treaty. We know these devils, they like to back stab each other, so it don't really matter if they make a treaty or not. It's not gonna stop prophecy. Okay, so it says if the Americans decide they don't need it, that's not a big deal for us. Putin said, despite downplaying the consequences for Russia, he acknowledged that the collapse of the treaty would be a shame. Putin also reiterated that Russia is willing to voluntarily uphold the limits of the New START treaty, set to expire in February 2026 for at least one additional year, provided the U.S. agrees to do the same. Trump has previously expressed support for a short-term extension, calling it a good idea, but no formal agreement has yet materialized. New weapons. Putin also touched on Russia's ongoing development of nuclear weapons. Speaking at the summit, he suggested that earlier announced weapons programs are progressing steadily, nearing completion, saying what I spoke about in earlier years is all progressing. We are bringing it to perfection. Right. Oh, bringing it to perfection. I think there's a scripture. Okay. I was just checking. There's a scripture. Um, wait. Let me see. Okay. It says so Russia unveiling building nuclear weapons is all coming to perfection. And who's making it happen? Who's putting the spirit for them to do that? Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay? Let's get this in Isaiah 58. No, 54. And 16 it says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. Right. So Smith is a modern day Smith is someone that created weapons for war. These Smith are these modern day scientists that are created weapons for war, especially these nuclear weapons. Okay, and that bringing forth an instrument for his work. For whose work? Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Because the Lord has a plan against Babylon. He has a plan against Babylon. All right, which is what, to destroy it, and have created the waster to destroy, which is the nuclear missiles. So the Lord's the one that made these weapons, and he gave Esau the knowledge on how to make them. Okay, and that doesn't stop. These nations are not stop making. These nations are continually making these weapons, these wasters, to destroy, all for the Lord's work. He said also that some countries, he did not name who, may conduct nuclear tests soon. North Korea, China, Iran, right? Which haven't happened since 2017 by North Korea. If others move forward with nuclear tests, Putin said Russia will do the same. The last time Russia tested a nuclear weapon was in 1990. The U.S. was in 1992. All right. So, hey, hey, they're going to test nuclear weapons because you got to get ready for war. All right. War is coming, and they know it. That's why you're seeing these nations build the military might. All right. But you notice how it says earlier about 1,500 deployed nuclear warheads, right? But what does the Bible say? All right. When John likened the horsemen, This is Revelation 9 and 16. It says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. And 200,000 represent 200 million warheads. All right, because you got the ICBM or hypersonic missile, which is the delivery system to deliver these warheads to their destination, which the destination is going to be towards America. So the Lord got 200 million warheads. Okay, so it don't matter if this military, if this nuclear deal, if they extend it, that's not all. That's not gonna matter. Okay, like I said, Esau likes to stab each other in the back. Russia knows America. Outwardly, they're saying, yeah, we don't, we got this so much, but nah, they really got more. All right, because an ICBM itself is able to uh, carry multiple warheads. Okay, so think about it. That's why when Apostle John saw this vision, he likened it onto horsemen. Okay, he saw about 200 million of them. That's overkill in America. All you really need, like in a, you look at it like a military perspective. What you need to take out is DC or DC, major cities like Los Angeles, parts in Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota, because that's where the military bases were, all the military bases. But really, the Lord's gonna wipe out all of America, man. It can be like a wind of fire. It's gonna cross through America, man. All in 1 hour. That's how devastating the destruction is gonna be. And like I said, it ain't gonna be Russia. It's gonna be the allies and even America's allies. It says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jackneth and the brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Why? Because when the missiles get shot off and come down, it breaks in pieces where the warhead split and hit its destination. And once it hit its destination, it explodes. It creates a big mushroom cloud. And the wind of fire crosses the land, man. All right? It says, by these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. Right. The third part of men is you Edomites. Okay? You got Edomites thinking that America's going to be great again. You have Esau thinking that America's going to go on forever. Well, guess what, man? America's not going to go on forever. America's going to be destroyed. Thus saith the Lord. Okay? Even reading these comments, man, people take everything as a joke. How will this affect me growing old with my wife in an affordable home? Well, look, the idea of new, bigger nuclear weapons is kind of comical between the U.S. and Russia. There's over 12,000 warheads. You only need about 5 to put an end to the show, which you don't understand. This place, he's gonna overkill, utterly destroy America, wipe this place out. Ain't gonna be four. Ain't gonna be 5 that's gonna put an end to this place. It's about to be 200 million. That's about to be put an end to this place. Right? I thought everything would be okay under Trump. We just seem closer to World War III and the Civil War daily, right? You got some people that can see it. But let's go back to Joel. I haven't even read the main chapter yet. Joel, the third chapter. So we read verse 2. We're gonna skip down. This goes into when when Ham and Ishmael sold us to these devils. Let's go into the main part. Um, verse 9. All right. So Joel chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Right, and this is what we're seeing. We're seeing all these other nations, these heathen nations like China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. They're all preparing for war. They're all ready for it. Holding all different military exercises through air, land, and sea. All right, all for what? Preparing for war. Okay, and like we read here, this last part, how Russia and how Russia is also ready, and these other nations, like he's not gonna say, but we know North Korea, China are also ready to test nuclear weapons. And North Korea, they always been testing nuclear weapons. They've been shooting missiles at in the Sea of Japan. Okay, but they're doing tests. They're preparing for war. Because like I said, even though this war is gonna start off conventional, it's gonna turn nuclear. Okay, let's get that. Isaiah the ninth chapter, in the fifth verse, it says, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood, like ancient warfare. It's close combat, got swords, arrows, spears, and all that. Stab somebody with a sword, blood can gush up in your face, all in your clothes. But like it says, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. But this war, is gonna be a nuclear war. Burning and fuel of fire, a nuclear war. Nations are gonna shoot off these missiles, man. All right, which is gonna cause the whole earth to shake. All right, because this fire, this nuclear fire is gonna do two things. It's gonna it's gonna destroy America and destroy the wicked. All right, the wicked of the wicked Esau, and as well as the 2/3 of our people. All right, but it's also gonna cleanse the earth because the earth is polluted and is literally polluted. All right, not just in wickedness, but it's literally covered in pollution. All right, but let's go back to Joel, the third chapter again. So it says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles: Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong." Right? These nations, they're like not really focused on their agriculture like they should. They're more focused on building up the military. For what? To prepare for this war. Okay? And this happened before. During World War II, you had different farms in US that that were known for farming, that they helped instead of farming for the people, they farmed for the soldiers. You had a what's his, let me see, I could look it up. I was looking it up earlier. Let me see if I could bring it out real quick. Right. So then you had this vulgar, tractor plant helped for for farming that was mainly used to supply different tractors all around the world. But once World War II started, you had this. Get to the point. Um, During its lifetime, the VGTZ has supplied more than 2.5 million tractors to the farm industry, making a huge contribution to the mechanization of agriculture. Tractors operated in 32 countries throughout Southeast Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, and Latin America. Also used for the production of military vehicles. Extremely linked with history of the Soviet tank building, right? Because when World War II started, they had to put a pause on building the tractors, and they focused more on building military vehicles like tanks and all that. Okay, and you see the same thing happen today. Okay, I asked ChatGPT to give me some examples of nations that are building their more focus on their military than their agriculture. Right. An example says North Korea, military priority, one of the most militarized countries in the world relative to its size and economy. Agriculture struggles with food production, frequent shortages, and famine concerns. Focus nuclear weapons, missiles, standing army over 1 million strong, while much of the country faces food insecurity. Right, so you'll think that in order to continue to feed your soldiers and feed your civilians, you need to, but food, so you should focus on agriculture, right? But these nations are making military their main priority. Going to what we read here, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Okay? So you see in North Korea, their main priority, their focus is nuclear weapons, missiles. Okay? Russia, military priority, massive increase in defense spending due to its ongoing war efforts, especially in Ukraine. Agriculture is still a major exporter, but military spending has taken precedence in recent years. Focus, war mobilization, military industrial production, sanction resilience. Israel, due to constant regional tensions and recent wars like Gaza conflict in 23 and 24, defense spending is very high. Agriculture advanced but small scale, reliant on tech like drip irrigation, focused defense technology, Iron Dome, AI, warfare, cybersecurity. United States military priority, world's largest military budget over 800 billion a year. Agriculture still strong but receives relatively less federal funding support compared to defense. Focus global military presence, advanced weapons systems, space defense. I wonder why they need space defense for, right? Iran, Saudi Arabia, but Iran military expands missile programs, funds militias in the region. Agriculture suffers from drought, sanctions, and mismanagement. Focus defense, self sufficiency, and regional influence over food security. So that's what these nations are more focused on what? On war than they are on agriculture, than they are farming. Okay? So again, verse 10 it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. What's an example of a weak nation? Is now calling themselves strong. All right, North Korea, China, which were once at one point weak, all right, and afraid of America, but now they're not, because why? They have the same capability as America, which is the nuclear missiles. Matter of fact, North Korea and China have hypersonic missiles, which America hasn't. Russia as well has hypersonic missiles too. All right, which just shows you how advanced these nations are, man. And they're advanced for a reason. The Lord's making them advanced. Verse 11 says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about, man. So, hey, this is going to be the beginning of the heathen's judgment. The Lord's going to judge them, and then Yahweh Shai is going to come and destroy all the military might, and then he's going to save us, and we're going to come down and put all these nations in subjection, man. Put them in slavery for 1,000 years. All right, after them 1,000 years, Esau, Edom is going to be exterminated. Okay? All these other nations get to live and have to follow our laws forever. I'll end it here in this Ezekiel 28, and I'll start at 6. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord God, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, because thou hast set thy heart as the heart of the Most High, and that's Esau. Esau, he puts himself like he's the Most High. Look what he did to the world. He set himself like, he painted himself like he was God. Like God and his son look like him. And he has the mind of a God. Why do you think he wants to chip everybody? All right, because he wants total control of the people. Okay? It says, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee. And these strangers are these other nations. The terrible of the nations. And they shall draw their swords against thy beauty of thy wisdom. And they shall defile thy brightness. How are they going to do that? Shoot the missiles at this place. All right? These nations are going to shoot missiles against America. All right? They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am a God? But thou shalt be a man, and no God, in the hand of him that slayeth thee. Thou shalt die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, saith the Lord God. So the Lord's against this place, man. All right, you devils are setting yourself up like you're a God, like you're the Most High. You're trying to be the Most High. The Most High is going to show you that you're just a man, not just any man, but the basis of man, the lowest of the low. All right, about to wipe out your kingdom out in 1 hour, man. Okay, you can't tell these nations why you shooting missiles at us. Why you shooting missiles at your God? You know. But anyway, I hope you brothers are edified with this lesson. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash. Till next time, Shalom.